18-year-old joining up military to kill 18-year-old that they never see. That is the type of preparation it takes to live in this beautiful promised land. Better days are coming. The bombing and the bombing and the shooting and the lying. Better days are better days. If you sing the same song, I might go insane. Because it's a small the same thing I hear it. That's how it have a better day coming. But anyhow that I look around, I see the whole world heading for destruction. People committing crimes and for their escape. Say they're doing all that for the children's sake. Better days are coming. The lion and the lion and the lion and the lion. Better days are coming. Because we're dying and we're dying and we're dying and we're dying. Children, stop your crying. Bus workers on strike, all workers down too. So your children can get bus to go to school.
Yes, indeed. Of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, and Trinidad. Our friends in Tobago and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, pleasant good day to you. Yes, this is the none other than the corridor transformation, of course, beaming to you right here in Port of Spain, of course, on George Street at our Empowerment Center. But of course, we have a bumper program for you as usual. Mr. COP will not be joining me tonight. Of course, he has taken a sabbatical, as some people would prefer me to say, shall say it. But nonetheless, of course, we have had a very, what I consider to be sterling, but at the same time, a very deep and profound series, which we will continue tomorrow. But I thought I should take a break tonight on the developmental pathway that was sown decades ago by very conscientious Lavantillians and persons who are committed, of course, to the development cause and the capacity building and the repository or the reposing confidence in those persons who the general society would consider to be people who are not good, but I consider to be investments. So we're going to look at that tonight, but in terms of we're going to discontinue that temporarily tonight, but we have to look at what are the prospects for those young people who are coming out of school this month. And I thought, of course, no other calypso could best describe the situation as better days. And indeed, of course, the Prime Minister herself. But there were other developments, both past, recent past, and current, and prospective future, that we can make an assessment or a determination. But let's see a little more of Stalin.
I don't want it in words, I want it in action. My son must live in care, no matter. Who go pick up no bomb and cause no destruction. Remember that what is not told to the whole and aching would be revealed unto babes and suckling. Keep on lying and doing you do, but one day the truth go pick up with you. Better days are coming. I'm watching and I'm watching and I'm waiting and I'm looking. Better days are coming. Because I'm dying and I'm dying and I'm dying and I'm dying. Children, stop your crying. Better days are coming. Better days are coming. I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. start and wait. Get your place down and hang in there. It's coming, a better day. It's coming round the corner, man. Just sit down and wait, man. Just pay your subscription and wait. It's coming, man.
Better days are coming. Better days are coming. Better days. Children, stop your crying. Better days. Better days are coming. Better days are coming.
Yes indeed. Better days are coming. But how can we assess as individuals, as a collective of people, let's say in the community, and indeed as institutions, because the institutions are there to assist in the process of development, advancement, and therefore the acquisition or the realization of that better day that is ahead. Well, one of the institutions, and the Prime Minister's office is an institution because it recognizes the person or the holder of the office at the time. And whether Prime Ministers come and go, the office of the Prime Minister remains solid as a rock. But the holder of the office of Prime Minister, as I've always said, has an awesome responsibility, and that is to say, it has almost as writing, is almost as confirming when they speak in terms of policies, in terms of programs, in terms of initiatives, in terms of promises. And one of the promises that was made by the current Prime Minister, who is now, of course, in St. Lucia, attending, of course, that CARICOM meeting, changing of the guard, so to speak, as far as chairman is concerned. The St. Lucian Prime Minister will now be chairman of CARICOM for the next 6 months. Since his predecessor has expired his 6 months, talking about, of course, the St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister. But the fact is that Prime Minister, when they speak, it is expected that they are sincere, that it is policy, and that which they speak will materialize within, of course, human constraints, resources, and other factors that may either impact in terms of delay or impact in terms of, usually it's not expediting, but certainly reaching the point where one can be satisfied that the date on which the particular project is supposed to be unleashed or unveiled would have been reached. You see, I'm saying so out of an abundance of caution, having regard to the fact that we had a situation in the last administration where we had some practical cutting of the ribbon for, let's say, the Port of Spain Central Block at the General Hospital. And we saw that that was really a construction site. And I want to say to you as well that that was a classic case, a quintessential case of karma, of poetic justice. You see, when the Rowley PNM administration came into office, they were very strident. Of course, we know now that they were wicked, that they were diabolical, that they were evil, and that they had pernicious intent. Because here it is, the Couva Hospital was complete. Yes, the Couva Children's Hospital was complete with equipment that you can see wherever you go to show a functioning or potentially functioning, not up to optimum at the time because it was new. And therefore you have to populate it with patients and other operational systems and mechanisms that would make a hospital properly functional. But the fact is, it was finished. Here it is, in the twilight and on the brink of demitting office. Rowley opens the central block, but you could only go on the ground floor and the fifth floor. Deliberately designed for people not to see the intervening floors, because you would only see concrete, mortar, probably yes bricks, as well as cement and other materials for maybe plumbing and electrical fittings, etc. That is the hoodwinking. And it cannot be said that it was a fluke. It cannot be said that it was not deliberate. Let me repeat. It cannot be said it was not deliberate, because here it is. You know, the old people have a saying, once you could fool me, twice is a mistake, but 3 times, no, it's a habit. So they went to Tobago and did a similar exercise under the A&R Robinson Airport expansion. And of course, I think it will be formally opened with all its operational mechanisms, systems, and equipment, I think at the end of this month, if I'm not mistaken. I think Jolene John, the current Minister of Transport, is the person, well, Minister of Works is the person in charge of that. And I think I got some information that the formal opening, the real opening of it, will be there. So we had Dr. Rowley and the PNM attempting, of course, on the cusp of an election, knowing full well that the cuckoo was cooked, knowing full well that they could not have returned. He decided, of course, as the typical coward that we have observed him to be, decided, of course, to cop out and leave, of course, as the saying goes, the man totally neglected the old and very, should I say, beaten adage that, of course, people fear, and you dare to go where nobody wants to go. And Stuart Young could not have, of course, resisted that opportunity to become a prime minister for a couple hours. And he took it. Whilst Rowley, of course, went off in the sunlight, or put another way, to his goat or sheep farm. A very bizarre state of affairs. And of course, all that subsequently visited that scenario showed that it was totally unacceptable. It was not just irregular, or it was not unprecedented, not only unprecedented, but it reeks with conniving and deceit and hoodwinking for personal aggrandizement and service or achievement or accomplishment. Yeah, that's what that was all about. But that is behind us now, because the whole question of revisiting the emoluments and the pension for a prime minister, having regard to what Rowley and the PNM did, certainly poetic justice manifested itself there. I'm saying all of this to say that there's a big difference between what a prime minister has to say and would say and the sacredness of it. It is almost sacrosanct, religious. When a prime minister speaks, it is expected that they are doing so authoritatively with the full backing of the force or the power that gave rise to them being in the office that they hold. Consequential, of course, of a general election, which we, the people, would have transferred in what is called representative government, or representative democratic government. That is how it is. But when you have a situation like what Rowley and they subjected us to at PNM, we know Always have to be looking over your shoulder because what appears to be is not. Always something clandestine. Always some kind of what? Secretive deal. And they have made a sort of mission of it by talking about non-disclosures. Non-disclosure here, non-disclosure there. And in specific terms, I'm talking about even for COVID vaccines, for all of those oil and gas projects that they would have been engaged in. And then, of course, at the end of the day, even the Cabo Star and the acquisition of the Galleon Passage, all of that were mired, of course, in secrecy and misinformation and disinformation from the highest level in the government of Keith Christopher Rowley and the PNM. Let us not waste time. And don't tell me that you forget, because I will remind you and I'll bring the proof thereof. But tonight I want to talk about the whole question of the promises that would have been made by the present administration and therefore by virtue of the Prime Minister and senior members of the government. Because we must make the comparative analysis. We must understand what that means in terms of better days are coming and what are the building blocks, what are the cogs that are put in place in order for one to say, yes, I have confidence that the future is bright. And of course, there must be a time frame as well in which these things would materialize. Because there is a saying, and we have seen it here almost on a daily basis, that while the grass is growing, the horse is starving, or the cow, or the donkey, as the case may be. Those, of course, animals that would consume plants as their source of energy to stay alive. Herbivores, yes, herbivores. So what are they? But I want to tell you that, and I made the comparison and I put a little video together. As I said, my apology, people. Mr. COP will not be with us tonight, so you have me all to yourself tonight. Of course, the line is also open. We still have to use this. By now, it's considered in the technology world to be archaic, but just as the hammock, just as the coal pot, sometimes when all of these fancy modern day things have expired or no longer the human being can make use of, we have to revert to the old time days. Tomorrow night, of course, we'll have something on that. Because we did it regularly when by default, the PNM had us, of course, thinking about going back to coal pot and breadfruit and bicycle and so on. We saw it, of course, in no other place than in the parliament, in a modern parliament, in a modern Trinidad and Tobago, and modern technologically advanced Trinidad and Tobago. They were talking coal potters. Of course, the fella who is supposed to represent this part of the country, I'm talking about not Stuart, but Scotland. He presented that hogwash, that nonsense in the parliament of the country, claiming to be representing people like myself, who, of course, operate at different levels in these constituencies. And I am very, very comfortable, whether it be East Port of Spain or whether it be the Laventille West level or Laventille East. I've always said that my focus are these areas because they have the same socio-economic conditions or conditionalities. But having said that, let me go straight, of course, to that video that I believe will be sufficient to convince you of the fact that better days are coming, having, of course, seen what the worst days could have been if the PNM was still in office. Let's go there.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says Trinidad and Tobago stands tall despite not being invited to a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. The leaders of 5 Caribbean countries were invited to the meeting in Miami. Ian Wason explains.
It's no surprise Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley was not among the 5 Caribbean leaders invited by the U.S. President Donald Trump, since this country was not among the countries that supported the Lima Accord. The Lima Accord was a coming together of countries supporting the U.S. to recognize Juan Guaido as the Venezuelan president. However, Dr. Rowley stands resolute.
A man's home is his castle. You're free to invite who you want to invite to your house. We can't stay outside and say we should have been invited. Since when we measuring our stature and our station by who invite us to the house?
Dr. Rowley, who this week returned from a medical appointment in the U.S., cited a UN charter and reiterated why the position of the government is one of non-intervention.
All members shall settle their international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered.
He said he did not invent that and is simply sticking and adhering to the UN Charter.
All members shall give the United Nations every assistance in any action it takes in accordance with the present Charter, and shall refrain from giving assistance to any state against which the United Nations is taking preventive or enforcement action.
Dr. Rowley said anything outside of that is illegal.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, while responding to journalist questions on day 2 of CARICOM's 50th Heads of Government meeting in St. Kitts and Nevis, noted that the meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was also in St. Kitts and Nevis, focused on security and energy concerns. She also reaffirmed the government's commitment to reopening the Petrotrin refinery, noting that Secretary Rubio agreed to connect Trinidad and Tobago with the U.S. Department of Energy to assist in identifying the most suitable partner for the project. Meanwhile, Secretary Rubio said via social media that discussions with Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar focused on making the partnership between the U.S. and Trinidad and Tobago even stronger, ensuring that citizens from both countries are more prosperous and safe. He said Trinidad and Tobago's ongoing support for U.S. military operations in the South Caribbean Sea is one example of helping to protect citizens from both countries from the scourge of drug trafficking.
Prime Minister